What up, y'all? We back again with another episode. Getting close to episode 100. Today we go down memory lane and revisit Dwayne and Whitley's relationship on a different world. Ran across an article on XO Nicole's website. Typical black feminist. And she had a different view on what I thought Dwayne and Whitley's relationship actually was. Because for me, it is the typical black love story. Just not the typical black love story she believes it is. So she starts off by saying everyone remembers how they felt the first time, or even the 100th time they watched Dwayne run up the aisle and confess his love for Whitley and run off into the sunset with his new bride. It's every girl's dream, but it shouldn't be. Now, I do remember that episode. I think a lot of us around my age remember that episode. And to be honest, that was kind of a fantasy of mine as a kid to kind of have that type of situation happen where you become an adult and you're able to go and get your lady back on that type of stage. Because that was the ultimate boss move. The ultimate show of confidence was by Dwayne in that moment to lay it all on the line to go get her. Because he risks rejection and everything. Because if she says no on that stage, party's over. And that's kind of a moment where you may even contemplate suicide after something like that. Because it would have been the ultimate fail. But she says she watched the entire series of A Different World 60 times throughout her life. But this time, season 5 burned me to my core. She said 16 scene was a classic example of a man who was truly in love and put his pride aside to go after the woman he loves. That's true. But how she gets to this conclusion is the reason we have the issues that we have in terms of men and women relationships. Because women aren't honest enough to kind of call it for what it is. So, now, he realized that he would never find another woman like her and got his stuff together to win back the love of his life. Why wouldn't anyone want a man like Dwayne? He never went and got his stuff together. He was already working. Dwayne was always a guy who was in school. He was the nerdy guy. But see, this is how women take all of this and they play the victim. And we'll ride this all the way through, I promise you. And I'm going to make it all make sense for you. Because this is where the oxymoron and the hypocrisy starts. Well, first she says, why wouldn't anyone want a man like Dwayne? We can start right there. Because now we have to take it all the way back to the beginning. And at that point, we understand why she didn't want a man like Dwayne. He was a nerd. Now, what he evolved into is what I've told you from episode 1, episode 3 or 4 until now. Once the nerd has evolved and becomes a man's man and now has money and some prestige, and she has evolved out of the I want to play with thugs and all of that, then she wants him. But then she's going to look at him and say, when he has a white wife, you a sellout. You wasn't strong enough to stick around and all of that. So see, they never want the Dwaynes until they become established, until they realize their status for them, which is again, oh, this phone is blowing up today. Let me just mute this. Which is again why we are having this conversation. So she starts off by saying what? She ends her first paragraph by saying, why wouldn't anyone want a man like Dwayne? Then starts right off the next paragraph when we get to the genesis of it and says, sure, he wasn't the type of man she was attracted to. See, that's the craziness you deal with when you deal with women. Because they don't want the nerve. No, they don't see the potential, especially black women, which is why they despise white women so much. White women, Asian women, they'll see a black nerd and understand, hey, yeah, he got glasses. Yeah, he's awkward now, but he'll be a boss soon. So I'll take that. I'll go on this ride with him now and suffer through this now to reap the benefits 6, 7 years from now. They'll make the investment. Black women won't make the investment. It's rare you'll find a black woman who will make that investment because she's too worried about her own status. She's too worried about matching testosterone with him. She wants to be the big dog. She wants to be the boss. She wants to be the one, which we'll talk about tomorrow. She wants to be the one to flaunt her degrees. She wants to be the one to say, look, I'm a catch. So to her, she's looking for somebody who's on equal footing, as the black girls like to say, equally yoked. So to her, equally yoked is what? Fast money, status. So when you're in college, none of the college guys got fast money. So they're usually dealing with drug dealers or adult or grown men already established. Or they dealing with athletes. Now the athletes don't really have the money also, but they got the status. So as long as you have one or the other, they fine with it. The nerd doesn't have the money, doesn't have the status. Now in 7, 8 years, he's going to be past both of them. But these black women figure, my vagina is gold. It has the Midas touch on it. I'll get what I need 7, 8 years from now from him. He's no longer waiting 7, 8 years from now, though. Now, in this case, he was, but we'll get to that also. So she says, and okay, maybe he didn't have even a third of the qualities on her checklist, but at least he treated her nice. Now, didn't even have a third of the qualities on her checklist. Yet she finishes what? Saying, why wouldn't anyone want a man like Dwayne? But in the Genesis, what is it? They didn't want him. They only want him when he can now provide something. This is all give and take. It's a fair exchange. That's why I always tell you I don't have a problem with prostitution because that's all this really is. It's just a fair exchange. They're selling their vagina to you. Now they're going to tell you, I'm not selling my vagina to you. I'm selling me as a person to you, as a woman. We can build together. But see, you can only build with them if you're ahead of them. That's the way they view it. Now, they'll tell you I'm not selling my vagina to you. But then when you ask, well, what else are you bringing to the table? Well, I could cook. Yeah, I could cook also. I could clean. Yeah, I got somebody who can come in here and clean for me. And then they'll tell you what? Yeah, I got bomb head. And, I can do some things under the covers for you. So then what are they selling? What are they advertising? So you got to understand, in America, we live in a free market. Everything is what? Everything is for sale, my man. She's selling sex to you. She just doesn't want to come off as it being prostitution. No different than when she's telling you what? I need to go to this restaurant. You need to pay for this. You need to pay for that. And then at the end, Then we can discuss having a happy ending to this night. That's what? It's a fair exchange. It's prostitution. But that ain't what this about. Let's keep going. But at least he treated her nice. At least he liked her. At least. I was only 16, but I knew this much. If my man didn't fight for me like Dwayne fought for Whitley, it wasn't real love. And again, this is again why I tell you, you can't make a woman happy. Because she's getting ready to tell you in the evolution of her mind, she don't even think this way anymore. So, and did Dwayne really fight for Whitley? We'll talk about that also. At 32, this scene has an entirely different message. I'm ashamed to admit that I once thought this was the ideal relationship. As I sat here and watched the season play out, I realized why I was so annoyed and bothered. It hit me. I've met Dwayne's before, and Dwayne was, is, and will forever be trash. This is now a woman who's been hurt. See, this is also what you have to deal with. Not with just black women, but with women in general. This is why I tell guys my age and a little younger, you don't really want a woman your age. You want somebody around 24, 25. A woman hit 30, 90% of them are damaged goods, man. They've been through some stuff at that point. And at the point you're dealing with a woman who's damaged goods, anytime you do something, you risk the chance of it triggering her. And it's triggering to her, but it ain't because you've done it. It's a flashback to another man. So you constantly have to deal with the emotional heartache and the emotional trauma that other men have brought to her. So now it's you and her, but you have other men involved in a relationship. Other men who don't physically involve themselves, but emotionally, those other men will always be there. So she says, to put this into perspective, let's travel down memory lane. She's right. Allergy season for me, excuse me. Let's travel down memory lane. First season of A Different World centered around Denise. This was the first woman he was infatuated with, as to be expected, did not return the interest. Denise, much like Whitley, was completely out of his league. So, even though he would pursue them, they weren't interested. And see, this is when I tell you, when you want them, this is what they're going to tell you. They'll come back to you when you've become established and say, you wasn't checking for me. Then you'll come back and say, yes, I was checking for you. I did this, and this. All those advances were shot down. And then she'll say, you wasn't doing it hard enough. You wasn't trying hard enough. They won't ever really admit at that point in time, you didn't fit the profile for what they was looking for. Now, she says Denise, much like Whitley, was completely out of his league. Neither one of them was out of his league. They all was square and corny. But see, again, a socially awkward woman, because she doesn't have to be the predator, it will never have to be exposed that they're socially awkward. See, the man has to go be the hunter. And since the man has to be the hunter, he's the one who has to expose all of his flaws. Either you got the gift to gab or you don't. She doesn't. She has the gift at this point. Because for the most part, most men just want what? The interaction is, yo, I just want to smash. We ain't really thinking about her being our wife or long-term future. You thinking about, yo, I just want to have a good time with her for the next few months, and we'll see how that goes. But it's really, as Escape would say, I just want to touch the softest place on earth. But You'll have women who are socially awkward come off and say, "What? Oh, he a nerd." Well, they can call you that because guess what? Guess what? They're the hunted. They don't have to really expose themselves. But I'm here to tell you, man, the majority of women you're gonna talk to, they're socially awkward. It's why they're single. They don't have the balls to get up and come up to you either and say, "Hey, yo, what's your name?" Because what you'll find out is when you talk to them, what do you get? Yeah, I've been eyeing you. You'll have her tell you, "I've been eyeing you for the last 2 years also. Why you ain't say nothing? I ain't know if you like me either." So what is that? That's two socially awkward people. It's just, again, like I said, one of us are the hunter, the other is the hunted. So something he already knew, but that did not stop him from constantly and often inappropriately forcing himself onto Denise. I don't recall him forcing himself onto Denise, but again, this is what I'm saying. They'll tell you when you were young you weren't persistent enough. Now, when you don't want them, they'll tell you used to sweat me in college. But if they can get you and you guys become in a relationship, they'll flip it and say, "Well, back then you wasn't pressing hard enough." Which one is it? So it is important to remember that initially Dwayne did not want Whitley. In fact, he couldn't stand Whitley. Nobody could stand her character. She was bougie. He thought she was a stuck-up rich kid who only got into Hillman because her family had money. He didn't even respect Whitley as a person. But that was the way they wrote the character at that point. And if we being honest, none of us really liked Whitley at that point. She was decent looking. It wasn't until I saw her in School Days and saw her again did I even look at her differently because I understood, okay, that's not even her actual tone. Because I actually thought that's how Jasmine got talk for real. And then once I saw her in School Days, I was just like, you know what? She actually cute. This is actually just a role. But at this point, when I'm seeing all this, what am I, 8 or 9 at this point? So she says, going back as far as the very first season, Dwayne was constantly making fun of, harassing, and belittling Whitley for how she talked, the way she dressed, and often poked fun at her, making reference to what he assumed to be her lack of intellectual capacity. Now, what I will tell you about a man is when he's socially awkward, when he's harassing and belittling and always cracking jokes, it's because he likes you. But he doesn't have the game to come or the confidence to come up and tell you that. So at that point, all I can do is do what? Belittle you. Socially awkward. That's all. It's no different than when a boy is second, third grade and he want to push the girl he like. Or he always want to snatch her lunch and run off with it, or snatch her book bag, run off with it, make her chase him. It's the only way he can really verbalize or show that I like you. He doesn't understand how to, he hasn't grasped the idea yet, and he's not smooth enough yet to just walk up and say, "Hey, what's your name? I think you're cute." That don't work for him just yet. So Denise leaves. We already know she left the show. Crushing his dream for Einstein babies with hippie style. So now he's left with no one to fancy. And here comes Whitley. So she starts to say the woman he once considered to be an annoyance has become less repulsive and more like a challenge. That also goes, as I told you, when I first got married. I didn't like my ex-wife when I first met her. Every sign was there for me not to like her. And when we got divorced, everything that I didn't like about her was the reason I divorced her. But, well, we broke up. That just was what that was. There comes a point when you're around somebody enough, though, and you're maturing and you're talking together where it's like, all right, it's some energy here somewhere. It's some sexual tension here. And it gets weird and it turns into something different. But again, she goes to state. He knew she was out of his league and that she wanted a certain type of man, and made it a point to constantly berate her and the standards she had for herself, guilting her into thinking that wanting more was a problem. Now, this is through a woman's eyes. All right. Let me take this hose out. But this is through a woman's eyes. He never berated her. But see, again, this is where you'll have women saying he yelled and he was a screamer, and he wasn't. They think disagreeing is berating or yelling or screaming. That's not what that is. Now, and the standards she had for herself. Whitley had high standards. Now, was she bougie? Yes. Did she always want things her way? Yes. Was it a recipe for disaster for Dwayne? Sure was. But the way she's trying to describe it is what? He basically beat her down emotionally and made her succumb to him. That's basically how she's now describing him, is as a monster. Somebody who verbally abused her until she didn't have high enough standards and she settled for him. So she says she finally falls in love with him. She loves this man so much that even the threat of losing her inheritance wasn't enough to make her end it. So right there is where someone is wanting to take this story and spin their own web with it. Because let's be honest, what actually happened was what during all of this? Whitley met who? Julian. And before Dwayne and Whitley got together, what happened? Julian wanted to marry Whitley. Julian wanted Whitley to do what? Leave Hillman, come overseas with him. Now, Whitley was more focused on her career and said, I have a big what? I got a big opportunity here. I think she was doing something with art or whatever. But this is again how details get left out to spin the story. You got to be mindful of that when you're dealing with women, because they leave out a lot of minor details and they'll make something you said seem like something else was said when it's not what you actually said at all. Be very mindful of that when you're in a relationship with a woman. So, what happens was what? Dwayne becomes a what? What was it? A Phi Beta Kappa? All these things. He's getting ready to go over and accept the job overseas, and I think it was Japan or China or whatever. He's starting to wear these suits. Dwayne is starting to look like somebody now. He's no longer the nerd. Dwayne got status. Dwayne is top dog in school. Dwayne is the smartest in school. So now Dwayne was pursuing, but she would never leave Julian because Julian was the what? The athlete. Better physique. Light skin. Julian had everything she wanted. But she didn't want to what? She wasn't willing to sacrifice her own personal happiness to make sure they would stay a couple. The modern woman was born. Because Julian wanted to take care of Whitley. But what did Whitley want? No, I want to make sure that I get this art job. She wanted to be an art buyer, I believe, which was fine. But what it was she settled for Dwayne. Because what she also wants to leave out is what? When Dwayne left and came back, Dwayne was writing Whitley all of these letters about what? How everything is going over here. I'm doing great and all of this. And she came over and she was sprucing up, went to put her perfume on, all that, went to go give him a kiss. And what? Keanu was there. Dwayne had brought a woman back. So now what? Now she really wanted him. Because now she was fantasizing about how he had progressed into this guy, into this man. But what happened? Now other women want him, which we was just talking about. That's when the woman then comes to you and says, what? Now I want you. You've been chasing after me all this time. Now I want you. And now they'll tell you, you playing games. You playing hard to get. When he wasn't. Before he left, he wanted to be with Whitley. Wasn't what Whitley wanted at that point. And in fact, it wasn't until she realized that she couldn't be with Julian, and Julian wasn't getting ready to go for the lifestyle Whitley wanted, that she did what? All right, well, I'm done with Julian. Dwayne is elevating up close to Julian. I can be with him then. But see, what this woman is telling you is what? She done told you Dwayne and verbally abused the woman, basically. Beat her down. Took her morale all the way down to 1 or 2. And that's why she settled for him. So, she finally falls in love with him. She loves this man so much that even the threat of losing her inheritance wasn't enough to make her end it. That's her skipping through a lot of stuff. She was completely gone. He had her. She was sprung now. That's what she's trying to tell you. When in fact, she just was settling. Dwayne was her comfort zone. She saw the potential in Dwayne. She was willing to invest in Dwayne because what? Julian left her. It wasn't because she chose Dwayne. She settled because her best option wasn't with her plan. Dwayne was willing to support her dreams, though, and sacrifice some of his own to make sure her dreams happened also. So, over the course of their relationship, Dwayne the nerd transforms into Dwayne the stud. And again, this is how women look at you guys. They don't want the nerd at all. Now, once you spruce yourself up and you get yourself into your 2 and your 3-piece suits, and the money and the status comes along with it, then they'll act like he's different. No, you're still a nerd. See, the other men, they still know who you are. To her, she thinks the status matters. This is why she gets bored with the nerd later and she'll leave him again, because she realizes other men still don't acknowledge him as an alpha. They never will. They're going to always see him as a nerd. So he dresses better. He walks differently. And Dwayne wasn't never a bummy guy. If you ever go back and watch, Dwayne always had the fresh Air Max on or the fresh Jordans on all the time. But to them, this is when I tell you, when he elevated from the flip-up glasses to the suits, to them, that's dressing better. But the shoes probably cost more. The shoes alone probably cost more than the suit he had on when he was just dressing regular. He talks with more confidence. People listen to him when he speaks. They take him more seriously. And while no one will say it aloud, their respect comes partially or primarily from the fact that he is dating Whitley. See, the evolution of Dwayne had already started, though. She don't give him credit for that. And see, this is also why I told you she gets bored with the nerd, because she can't take credit really for you. See, for the hood dude, she's going to say what? You wasn't really smart. You ain't know how to write a resume. You didn't know how to do any of these things. I had to do all of these things for you. Look at the status I've helped you attain. Makes her feel important. Makes her feel useful, to be honest with you. Now, because she believes her degree makes her intelligent. I know plenty of hood dudes who can think some of the smart, the most brilliant women you can find, the most highly educated women you can find. I know plenty of hood dudes and street dudes, street educators that'll talk them completely under a car when it comes to debating certain subjects. Because they've done more studying than just in school and in the books. They've also had lessons of the school of hard knocks. So they understand, yeah, it's books, but I also know how life really works. So I also know a lot of this in this book is BS. A lot of street nerds, a lot of nerds, women and men, they don't understand it. Everything is by the books. That's why they always tell you, hey, yo, I got statistics for this, statistics for that. I don't really need the stats. I lived it. I can show you what this is. And then when you show them, then it's, yeah, well, I didn't know, life was really like that. I know because you banking on this book and these numbers to tell you that this is what this is. But again, she says people listen to him when he speaks. They was already living on their own. Let's just be honest. Him and Ron was already living on their own. They was playing around. They had girls spending the night and all of that. So you already had his swag. But what she wants to do is now say what? He became somebody because the great black woman was right next to him. Next to every great black man is what? A black woman. That's what they want to tell you. Next to Barack, relationship goals is Michelle. Next to Jay-Z is Beyonce, all of that. So you know how it goes. They want to take partial credit for it. It's the selfishness in them, though. It's the narcissist in them. 90 to 95% of all women are narcissists. It's always about them. You just have to be able to catch it. You'll always hear them say, look what I've done for you. Or look how this makes me feel. Or you don't understand how this does for me. How I feel strangled in this relationship. Damn the fact the man feel closed in and strangled in a relationship. That's not what she's worried about. Because to her, you couldn't possibly be feeling any type of way. You couldn't possibly be feeling bad. Why is that? Because she's sitting next to you. She's God's gift to the world. Well, at least that's what she thinks. So your life can't possibly be bad because God blessed you with her. He blessed you with Eve. And this is what she's telling you right now. Now she's telling he was always smart. This goes without saying, but he wasn't respected. Now he had it all. Now he's respected because Whitley's next to him. Now, if that's not narcissism, I don't know what is. So then she says Dwayne screws up. The night before Whitley is set to leave for her summer job, she overhears Dwayne talking on the fire escape with Ron about the doubts he was having about them separating for the summer. Ron challenges him, stating that if he really wanted Whitley, he wouldn't be giving up so easily. This challenge attacks Dwayne's ego, sending him into a mini man tantrum, all of which is heard by Whitley. Mini man tantrum. That's her feminizing him. Because that's also what they also do to us behind closed doors as men. Which is why I always try and get a lot of men to understand there are conversations that these women are having that you're not privy to. I was privy to some of those as a kid growing up around all women. There are things being said about husbands, man, behind closed doors you just wouldn't believe. You wouldn't believe it. Now, there's a man on the other side of the house having the same conversations with cousins and uncles and his brothers, and he's saying, yo, man, I'm laying it down. I'm doing this. Now, there's another conversation going on with a room full of women, and she's saying, yo, when we finish, I got to go in the bathroom and get my toys out and finish the job. And see, it's at that point as a kid, you 9, 10 years old, you realize, man, people ain't shit. And it really ain't no loyalty in none of this, which is why I tell people, you share enough with people that you don't mind certain things getting out there. Because once they get out there, you got to be able to accept certain things, which is why, again, if I share a certain secret, I don't care if I'm telling you with the thought already that you probably gonna go tell your buddies. You're gonna go pillow talk with your friends or your mother, your father, your brother, your sister. I'm letting you in already to know this might be told to somebody. But again, there are things I'm going to my grave with, dog. Ain't nobody ever gonna know. There are certain conversations will never be had around my children or children, period. But women don't mind having these conversations. See, there's a lot of women who know that they're on the verge of leaving you. You don't know it. And this charade gonna go on for years and years and years. And one day the hammer gonna drop. And she gonna say, yeah, I'm tired. I'm out. Now, to you, you're just really gonna be hearing this information. Now, your cousins, probably your sisters, and her friends, they've known for years it's a problem. They just ain't told you. So, but be mindful when you hear women saying, yo, you acting like a bitch, or why you acting like a female, or you having a tantrum, or you throwing a fit, or you being petty or catty. That's them effeminizing you and smacking you in your face. And you also have to understand, you're dealing with a woman who's talking like that. She ain't got no respect for you. None at all. And the best thing you can do is, again, start creating your exit strategy and just get out of it. This is going to end one day. She's going to be disrespectful enough to the point you're going to have to walk away. So I'm just letting you know, when these type of words are used, she don't respect you. Now, she then says, all of which is heard by Whitley on the night of her departure. Whitley tells Dwayne that she has also been thinking, and she doesn't think that a relationship is something that they need at the moment. Which, again, is what? She still was kind of hung up on Julian. And he still hadn't reached a certain status. But when he was gone that summer, and she got back and he's been writing me these letters, playing games. What did she say? He been writing me all these letters, but I never wrote them back. Because she thought he was still a lapdog and with his tongue hanging out, panting and chasing after me when I left. So he'll still be waiting and super excited when I get back to see him now. So when he gets there, he got a girl now. She hurt. So, uncertain of what just happened, and with his pride on the ground, Dwayne does the unimaginable. As she disappears into the dark, Dwayne, in one last desperate attempt to reclaim himself, screams after her, asking her to marry him. The season ends with Whitley stopping in her tracks, turning to face him, and the episode ends. Now, did he really want to marry her? No. But at that point, that's the only way he felt like, yo, I could get her. I'm going to have to marry her. Which is, again, women are always thinking he wanted to marry me. No man wants to get married. Listen to me and listen to me good right here. Let me say this aloud again. No man really wants to get married. They do it because they understand this is somebody I can see myself with permanently, and this is what she wants. Women want the marriage. Men don't really want the marriage. If it was up to a man, he would be fine in a committed relationship. That way, when it's time to go, I can go. I can just get up, pew, that's it. But we're always putting these boxes of, if you're serious and you're a real man want to be committed. So see, that's when they'll start telling you what a real man is. Then you'll ask them, well, how would you know? Because I know what a real man is. And who showed you that? My father. Where's he at? I don't know. Him and my mother was never married. Oh, okay. All right. Noted. Let me go. Now, she says the following season opens with Dwayne and Whitley now living together in their new quarters on campus. Whitley is chasing Dwayne around the apartment, demanding that he give her the ring she has been waiting for all summer. That's right. She accepted the impromptu proposal, sans ring, and it appears that the couple is happy. Everyone is getting along. Everyone is looking forward to the wedding. Dwayne is still the man. Life is good. And then Dwayne screws up again. Now, again, you notice she never speaks of Keno. She never really speaks of Julian like that while she's telling the story so far. Because if she does, then it shows what? The woman has been playing games. But that's not the narrative and the image we want to portray. Not when you're living in a gynocracy. So, Dwayne is still the man. Dwayne has never been the man on campus. Ever. If you're just being honest, him and Ron were never the big man on campus. But that's the image she's trying to portray to say this is how Whitley elevated him. Which is how a lot of women do. I elevated your status. I made you look this way. Feeling as if he's missing something, he makes the decision to entertain another woman hours before his engagement party. Whitley, feeling hurt and betrayed by Dwayne, calls off the engagement. Now, again, she's leaving out what? Dwayne had been feeling smothered. She was nagging, always whining. You know the voice she got. She always wanted to be up under him every second of the day. He couldn't. What was he saying? I can't breathe. Every chance I get to be alone, she knocking on the door. And she's saying they in the same living quarters. Now, if we do remember, they weren't living together. Dwayne was living on the other side. Whitley was living with Jaleesa. But like I said again, she's going to now say what? She's spinning a story for people who don't really understand this, but I'm taking you through this for you to understand. This is how minor details get mixed up and things you said. Someone will flip that into say, this is actually what you said when that's not what you said. Because once you start taking little minor details out and flipping stuff to look a certain way, you can spin this whole web now to make him look like some type of monster when none of this is actually how it happened. But in actuality, Whitley is living with Jaleesa at this point. Dwayne is still living with Ron. And they doing their thing. Which is fine. It's cool. But he was already saying, yo, she's smothering me and I just need a chance to breathe. It wasn't fun for him anymore. Which is what happens what? With a lot of men. We start more so saying what? I'm just here because I have a family. I don't want to break this unit up. But a lot of men, I'm willing to bet 90% of men, if they didn't have children, they would divorce their wives. 90% of families and couples who have children together, the children weren't there. I'm almost willing to bet 80 to 90% of those men to check out. But there's just so much to divide. Once that family unit and that structure has now been put together, it becomes bigger than love at that point. But again, for a woman and for Whitley, they don't understand you smothering. They don't understand, hey, I don't want to talk to your ass all day. Hey, if I just want to sit over here and just watch this, that's just what I want to do. And I'm cool. I don't need to be under you. I don't want you under me at this point. But to them, is I'm the sunshine that's brightening up your day. I need to be here. You should be happy I'm here. How dare you not worship the ground I walk on? Which is why Another reason why she played the games that she played with him, because the nerd is going to worship the ground a lot of these women walk on. And because they're going to worship the ground she walks on, they always figure he'll always be there. Which is why what? A lot of these women, they'll double back when what? They hit their late 20s, early 30s. They got a couple of kids. The relationship ain't working. Dude then left. She done fell a little out of shape. Who's she going to call then? Then you get the Facebook message or the Instagram DM. Hey, big head, you just popped up on my people to know list, or I was just thinking about you, or I ran across some pictures of us hanging out in high school or in college. I just was checking in on you, seeing how life treating you. Then you'll get it. She gonna come out and say what? Conversation gonna go, hey, what you been doing? What you been up to? You got any children? No, not yet. Yeah, I got 2. Yeah, I'm just getting out of a bad relationship or just got a divorce. What about you? You in a relationship? No, I'm not in one. At that point, she's saying bingo. Now, the next thing she's going to do is what? We should hang out sometime. See each other. Just chop it up for old time's sake. And that's how it starts. That's how they web the little weave that you'll never be able to get out of. And before long, she gonna be pregnant again, your ass gonna be married, and you gonna be stepfather of the year. Bam. Welcome. Welcome to the blue pill. So, Whitley, feeling hurt and betrayed by Dwayne, calls off the engagement. When you think about it, she says, Dwayne is the definition of the nice guy nerd who just wants to be your friend, but he really is just silently waiting for the right vulnerable moment to make his move. Again, preying on it. Now, this goes again from what? From her being out of his league to him just waiting to make his move. Or did she make her move? Because it was her who, she shot him down more than enough. She settled because Julian didn't want her, which is again what she's not stating. Now, are all guys waiting when they're friends with a woman? If it's an unattractive woman, yes. But you show me a decent looking woman who are 4 or 5 and above with a male friend, he waiting for her to be vulnerable to have sex with her. There's no such thing as a male friend who won't have sex with a woman, with his friend, his female friend. I don't care how long you've been friends. I don't care how long you've been friends. If it's offered, he's willing to sacrifice a 20-year friendship. He's willing to sacrifice it to have sex with you. Because that's all he's really ever been there for to begin with. So, but was Dwayne waiting silently for the right vulnerable moment to make his move? No, she came and pursued him after she got back. He wrote all the letters. She didn't really want to be bothered. Well, she didn't respond back, I should say. And then she came back and she went to make her move. At that point, he had brought Keanu back. And he had a girl. He was in a relationship. And what did she do? She went and ruined that relationship to get him. But that's not what she's going to say. Because that's not the picture women usually want to paint. It's why you end up in child support court, in divorce court, and all of these weird stories are being told, and all of these half-truths are being told. Because at the end, a woman is going to do what? She's going to use her femininity and her soft spot and her softness. And at the end, she's going to tear up. And it's going to be, bravo. Give her an Oscar. So she states he went from being her annoying, bothersome headache to being her goofy, dorky friend to the man she fell in love with. Sounds romantic, right? But what she's not telling you again is He wasn't really her bothersome headache. He was Denise's bothersome headache. Denise didn't like Whitley. Whitley ain't really care for Denise, which therefore Whitley ain't really like Dwayne either. So, to the goofy, dorky friend, he always was goofy and dorky. He was goofy and dorky when she married him, to be honest with you, but he just became less socially awkward. That's all it really was. To the man she fell in love with. So, look, this is again how she's basically saying, though, he manipulated her. He watched her moves. He watched who she dated. He listened to her problems and made sure he was the first ear to listen when she needed one. On the surface, it sounds sweet. But when you snap back and think about it, considering how it all played out, it's a little disturbing. Now, what she's actually telling you is who, when she was dating, there was a guy friend she had who did this to her. And now she's letting this jade all of her judgment when she sees certain things again. This is now the prism in how she's getting ready to look at relationships in the world. It's why I tell men, hey man, a woman been in a damaging relationship, she's damaged goods. You can try and do whatever you want to, but you can't save that. She is who she is at that point. Now you can marry her and you can try and be her therapist and her pastor and her lover and all of those things rolled up in one. Provider, sex monster, sex god, all of that. You'll never be able to do what though? You'll never be able to erase the damage those previous men did to her. She'll never be satisfied. She's going to always be searching for that dude who did the most damage to her. She's going to always be searching for someone like him to then go and save so that she can feel better about herself to say, what? I failed with the first guy who did this to me, but I was able to save him. It's going to hurt when she does that to you because you're going to think, I treated her way better than this new guy. I'm way better than him. I even look better than him. Why did she choose him? Because this ain't about you. This is about the guy who screwed her over. This is her chance at redemption. So she then says Whitley then happens to meet a dashing young aspiring senator who was completely in awe of her. They immediately hit it off and quickly land into a relationship. Byron wants nothing more from her than her. She doesn't have to change who she is. She doesn't have to pretend to be humble. She doesn't have to settle or go without. It's the relationship she's always dreamed of. And before Dwayne, the kind of thing her dreams were made of, soon after, Whitley gets engaged and Dwayne finds out he is enraged. How dare she get engaged? It was a quick engagement. This was supposed to be a phase. She wasn't supposed to really get serious with this man. She was supposed to wait. Now, Dwayne never slept with old girl. Let's just be honest. What she's also leaving out is a lot of the issues that caused Dwayne and Whitley some problems was what? When Julian came back in town to visit her, and she told Dwayne, I'm happy with you, Pookie. I don't need him. He ain't half the man you are. But what did she do? She lied to Dwayne. She got herself all jazzed up, made sure she was smelling good, and she went out to dinner to do what? Show him what he was missing. But what did he tell her? He had his new thing, his new lady sitting right there who looked better than her. And it made her feel like what? Trash. But at that point, Dwayne knew already. But see, again, these are the little details she wants to leave out because they want to tell their story, their way. It's amazing that they would leave that part out of what led to Dwayne feeling a certain way about Whitley. About him always feeling like he could never live up to Julian, which was the ghost he was chasing at that point. And it's what I was just talking to you about. So she got a chance to find her Julian again, which is what? It was with Byron. But guess what she found out? I don't want this either. Which is again why I tell you a woman ain't never satisfied. She's never gonna be content. Even when the thing she tell you she wants the most, you give it to her. Guess what she then does? God damn it, I don't want this either. This is why I tell you, man, you got to understand, man. Every relationship has an expiration date on it, either by death or by divorce or breakup. But at some point, 80% of divorces, I believe, are filed by who? Women. She's going to check out eventually. She will. I'm telling you. It's just the way they operate. Because at certain points, they're just going to get bored. They want something new. That's just how they are. It's how they wire. I don't get upset with it. I don't even mind it because I just understand it's in their nature already. It's when I tell you nature versus nurture. That's in a woman's nature. She can never be content. Never. She's always looking for the next challenge. It's why when she tells you, yo, if you would get this job right here, our lives would be so much better. If you could just go make 60 or 70, you go get a job that gives you 90. And guess what? She comes back to you in a year or two and say, well, I know I told you if you got this job, we would be all right. But we need this. We need this now on the car. And we probably need a bigger house. And I just want a pool now in the house. So I don't really even want to live in this house no more. So, man, if you could just find another job, man, that would just probably make like 15, 20,000 more. Hell, now you done found the job working 60 hours a week. You can go get 130. You've exceeded what she asked for again. Now, 5 years later, guess what the next conversation is? After you've given her that. You just don't spend no time with me. And, this is just not the life I thought I was going to be living with you. I think we should probably split, at least separate for a little while. I'm going to keep the house and you find somewhere else to live. Now, guess who footing the bill for her and her new boo thing? Because Tyrone now in there slinging that thing. So now while Tyrone in there slinging that thing, guess what's going on? Now you paying child support and you footing the bill for this house that you never wanted to begin with. But all you wanted to do was make her happy so she would what? Stop fucking nagging you. That's all you ever wanted. Just stop nagging. So you move hell on earth a lot of times to stop the nagging. And then in the end, still ain't enough. That's why men die of heart attacks. It's the stress. It's the stress a woman will put on a man. It's why you see single men live so long. They don't have the health problems. They don't got to deal with the nagging at all. They can just live in peace, get up and go when they please. Hell, if I want to sleep on the couch 20 days out of the month, I can. If I want to sleep in the bed, today I can. If I don't want to make the bed up and sleep on the bed, just scruffled up, damn it, I can. But that's the life. That's what happens when you date a Whitley. She's never happy. And like I said, the majority of women, overwhelmingly majority of women, they're never going to be happy. That's why all you have to do is just watch how they maneuver. Watch the social media posts. Just look at it. What do you see? Complaining. You'll even see women show you what? Relationship goals. They'll show you that man off for years on years on years. This is 20 years of love. And one day you'll wake up and see what? Relationship status changed to single. Then they'll come and tell you, hey, man, for 10 years I was dealing with this. So that means you've been lying the last 10 years to us on social media. Why is that? Because I just wanted to present the image of this being this way. So she then says Dwayne waits until the night before the wedding to make his move. He makes his way into Whitley's presence by arriving unannounced to her home and makes this announcement of remorse and regret for all the things he has done. He must really love her, right? Because only a man truly in love would wait until the night before your marriage to another man to show up and apologize for hurting you all those months ago. Now, he tried. He definitely tried. And to be honest, I thought there was an episode where he slept with Whitley and he woke up in her bathrobe. He was walking around in her bathrobe, whatever. I can't remember. I'm gonna have to go back. Because I could have sworn she cheated on Byron with Dwayne. But I could be wrong. So he tells her that the pressure she was putting on him before to do better was exactly the type of pressure he needed to get his act together. Now, at that point, when you're young and you're a man, which is why I say a man shouldn't even be thinking about getting married before 30. When you're trying to find yourself, you don't know what's right, what's wrong. But at this point, what are you saying? I don't see a world with me in it that you're not in it. So I'm willing to do whatever to make sure you're happy. So now she's basically saying, "No, what?" He's emotionally manipulating her again. He then turns to her and asks her if they were all of that to each other, why didn't their relationship work? And he watches Whitley get teary-eyed. So she then says, being sure to leave no corner unturned, he grabs a flower from the garden, kneels down on one knee, hands the flower to Whitley, and says, I always knew you would make a beautiful bride, Whitley Gilbert. He leaves, stopping only for a second to catch one more glimpse of a now emotionally distraught bride sitting in the garden crying. Now, did all of that happen? Sure it did. But had Dwayne emotionally manipulated Whitley? No. But will a woman have you believing you've emotionally manipulated her? Sure. Which is why I tell you, love is what? It's a sickness, man. It'll have you thinking and feeling and doing things that don't make any damn sense to you at all. But you find yourself doing it anyway. So now she's confused. She was already having doubts, but now what? So see, if you're already having doubts, you shouldn't be stepping down the aisle anyway, but that's not the accountability. I've already told you the majority of women will not be accountable for their actions in a relationship. They're going to always blame the man for why they do what they do. Everyone around her is excited, beaming with joy, and she is struggling to keep a smile on her face. Then the iconic scene begins to take place. Now, he crashes her wedding, comes in proclaiming his love in front of her family, all of their friends, Byron, and all of his constituents. Don't marry him, Whitley. Marry me. Be my wife. Love me, not him. He cried. He screamed, baby, please, baby, please. Yeah, we know. So then it says Whitley got cold feet. She started staring around. She didn't know which way to go. And then she gave him that, I'm sorry, Byron. And you know, the rest was history after that. But XO Nicole goes to say, Whitley made the decision that a lot of black women tend to make when dating and picking partners. We allow our emotions and our need to see the potential in a person to cloud our judgment. We hear a good word from a slick tongue and see a glimmer in the eye that looks like a tear. Now, this ain't describing Dwayne, but this is her wanting to make a correlation so bad because this is the damage that's been done to her. And we are ready to throw all of our common sense and all the lessons that history has taught us in hopes that this time around it will be different. Certain opportunities only come around once in a lifetime, and we will throw all caution to the wind for love. Love is beautiful when it is healthy and productive. Love is a beautiful thing when it is grounded on mutual respect and growth. Who knows who, what, or where Whitley would have been if Dwayne hadn't seen her as a conquest that needed to be conquered? Would she have ever met Byron? And see, Dwayne didn't see her as a conquest that needed to be conquered. Their situation actually evolved into what it evolved into just from a love. It was a hate love relationship. It turned into I can't stand you to, you know what? She really not that bad to, okay, let's talk to each other. Let's converse to, okay, yeah, that's my buddy to, okay, you know what? She's actually looking quite beautiful in my eyes now to, I want her. But now, did she see him like that? I don't know. How she actually saw, well, to be honest, she was attracted. She had started being attracted to him also. So we don't even have to play that game either. But what she's trying to make this seem like is what? He begged, and wore down. And basically, yo, when I saw opening, I took it. No, he was maturing and his style changed and his status changed. Which is why, you end up with the situation you end up in. I don't know what just happened. Right. So she then goes to say, would she have married someone else like him? Would she have ever gotten her dream of being the trophy wife? She always dreamt of being, regardless of whether you agree with that type of lifestyle. It was her dream, and she was allowed to want that for herself. She didn't want to be a trophy wife, though. She had already made that decision. Julian wanted her to be a trophy wife. He wanted to take care of her. She didn't want that. She wanted to pursue her own individual goals at that point, which is, again, what she's loving to leave out, because she wants to start this love story as if it started with Dwayne, and it didn't. The whole Dwayne Whitley cat mouse game starts with Julian being with her, them two hanging out together, confiding in each other, starting to become attracted to each other. She was still in a relationship with Julian. He couldn't have her. By the time she wanted, typical TV show, by the time she wanted Dwayne come back with Keanu, and it's the cat and mouse game. That's how that actually happened. So, but she goes into, she wanted to be a trophy wife, which is what a lot of women say they want. No different than when you see other shows, when you get a lot of women who say, yo, I just want to be a housewife. And then they become a housewife. And then 5 years later, two kids in, 5 years into that marriage, what do they then come and say? Hey, you know what, babe? I got a master's degree. I didn't go to school and put in all this work to just sit around and have babies and cook and clean and carpool all day and do homework. I want to get back out in the working world and do my thing. Right. She's ready to step back out of the wife role. I want to become me again. See, a lot of times they just want to break from life for a second, just a couple of years off. And then they want to get back out. But see, now she's got a man who he thought he was providing that. This is the type of wife I wanted. Well, hey, that was the type of woman I was at that point. That's not who I am now. I don't want to be a housewife anymore. So now his head is, had I known that, I would have never married you. But now what? I've been taking care of you. We got 2 children. So you're going to get alimony. You're going to get child support. So now that we live this lifestyle, she got you bent over the barrel. You don't have a choice. So Whitley was a challenge. She was difficult. Her demanding nature, her refusing to settle, her ambition, her firmness, all of which made the chase that more exciting. He completely stripped Whitley of all that she was, and she became a mirror of him. This is how most Dwaynes operate. Dwayne and Whitley's storyline was a toxic tale of a male's ego and the damage it can cause to a woman if she's not careful and diligent in protecting herself. Now, that's it for that. Don't be Whitley, marry Byron. Now, as we conclude this, Dwayne was never in a position for that. See, Dwayne would have been Whitley's challenge. And she actually transformed him into what, by the time she became dorm director or whatever, even the young ladies loved him at that point. Then he became somewhat of a ladies' man. Whitley could have never been Dwayne's challenge because she was out of his league. The woman stated that already. And we all know that. So if somebody out your league, she can't be your challenge. Now, if that's a playboy or that's Julian, then yes. She could have used Julian for this and said, yeah, he broke her down. He was a playboy. He did this. For a playboy, yes, that's something a playboy would do. A playboy would say, you know what? I'm going to get her to do this, and I'm going to strip all that away from him. Because he got the game to do that. He got the mouthpiece for that. Dwayne didn't possess that. Dwayne don't possess the swag to do something like that. Now, did he want at the end? Yes. But he only even had the courage to stand up at that wedding because what? They had already been in love. It was already engaged. Had they not been engaged, he never would have had the balls. A guy like Dwayne would never have the balls to jump up at a wedding had they never been engaged and say, will you marry me? And don't marry him. That's not going to happen. But again, this is again how even a man in a square as Dwayne is what? Seen as toxic masculinity. Don't blame me. Blame them. It's your boy, the Hood Nerd. I'm out.